Afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the shop and the F-14. As you can see, I have a wing levitating in thin air. I became a magician overnight. Just kidding. Anyway, wing supported by a pivot bracket, which I will zoom in there for you guys. You can see it's just kind of machine screw or wood screw to my edge of my table, which is not the most scientific way, but it works. Pivot bracket and 6 aircraft hardware bolt bearings, that axle, all that stuff I showed y'all in the last video. Here's a cool thing. Let me zoom this back out for you guys. The whole taper bearing and the whole 60 bucks a bearing, it's the one. You grab the wing, there's, I mean, it goes this way, but there's no play whatsoever on the incident setting of the wing when it's bolted in here. If you talk to some guys that have the Flagel jet, the yellow aircraft, and the DCU that just used like the Jetmark USA F-14s that just had a regular ball bearing, once they get in there, depending on the airplane, some are worse than the others, but they develop a little bit of incidence issues where they just kind of flop around a little bit. Not with this thing. No incidence changes whatsoever because of taper bearings. And the other thing that you see very common on the Flagel jet and the Philip Vaughn's F-14 plans from Hobby Barn, there's that track back here along the trailing edge. That's actually what keeps the wing incidence set, or one of the items that keeps the wing incidence set as the airplane sweep. No track on this airplane, none whatsoever. And if you notice, I'm sitting here sweeping this thing with just an index finger. Very little force whatsoever for this thing to move. Matter of fact, pinky finger out here at the root, I won't even hit it at the root. I just take the trailing edge. I'll zoom in for those who are going to be like, oh yeah, right. Pinky finger, just barely push on it and it moves. This system is so smooth, and the bearings aren't even moved. I mean, the bearings are still dry. And these bolts are tightened down as much as I can do with a little 4-inch adjustable wrench. So I mean, they're tight in there, and like I said before, you sit here, you can see the whole cable's moving. The wing and the bracket do not change in relation to each other. One little flaw in my testing scheme, which I kind of expected. So I'll show you guys. I don't have any sandbags yet. I haven't gone to pick them up. I gotta kind of figure some stuff out. But typically when you load test the wing, there's more weight here, and then it progresses out to about 3/4 span, 70% or so per wing panel. The reason why is because the last 20 to 30% of the wing, it does carry a load, but not as much as the stuff inboard. So the load, or the lifting force progressively dissipates as you get to the wingtip. So what I'm going to do is when I go about the testing, put 100 pounds just outboard of the pivot, because I don't care right here in line with the pivot. I want to start loading it outside of it so I get as much force on this pivot interface as I can. So I've got about 100 pounds here, maybe 150, 50 to 100 pounds here, and then 50 pounds here. And that's where I have found my issues, is all the way out here. I have a car battery. That's sort of good, not really. But it weighs over 25 pounds because the scale that I have says it maxes it out at 25. And it goes way over that. I'm thinking it's probably around 40 pounds or so. So here's the second stress test. Car battery, and it's a big one. I think it's 800 cold cranking amps. So you can put it down here it's all the way down here at the wingtip. There you go. What's happened is the whole table down there at the end is actually the bracket and the wings pulling the table away. It's actually twisting the wood. And that's why it deflected as much as it did. I mean, you can see I'm pushing down here with all the force I got, and it's just twisting the table. And I'll zoom in again for you guys to see this. Again, I'm going to push down as much as I can. You can see it just moving the table. And all the, if you could hear that little crack, it's actually the wood screws trying to pull out of the wood, or the wood starting to twist and break or anything. So that's stage 1 or stage 0.1 of the load testing for these wing panels. I mean, just from this test alone, I can already tell it's extremely overbuilt, which I kind of expected. Which better be a little too strong on the very, very first one you do than not quite strong enough, as they say. But there you go. Progress. I'm still amazed at how smooth this thing is. I can sit there and bounce it back and it just moves on its own. It's amazing. So the huge heavy duty actuators, I thought I was going to need to retract this thing. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to need those now, so I'm going to go down to the next size smaller. It'll be a little bit slower in the wing sweep from from full swept to fully unswept by about a second, maybe a second and a half or two. But the force will, well, the weight of the actuators would be a quarter of what I was expecting to have to buy. So there we are. Woohoo! Another milestone somewhat accomplished. Once I figure out what I'm going to do about keeping that table from twisting, I'll probably end up bolting it to the leg of the table and hanging it out, and then load testing it. But that's where I am for now, for a couple of days. I gotta go back out of town next week to California for a few days, and hopefully by the time I get back, the plywood and the carbon fiber for the internals of that big monster will be here. Possibly going to order a CNC router. Haven't decided if I'm going to do that or if I'm going to put the money towards landing gear. I could really use both equally as bad right now. But anyways, there you go. Naysayers, haha. Told you it'd work. Anyway, y'all have a good afternoon, and we'll see you back in the shop.